Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is the new game from Ninja Theory. They made Heavenly Sword, the recent DMC. They also made Enslaved. I'm Kyle Hilliard. Joe Juba is here.
Yes.
And you reviewed the game, and you're going to tell me 4 things that are interesting about this new experience from Ninja Theory.
I am. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a hero's journey, but it has a twist.
It's not really like a straight-on action game, which is what they're kind of known for, right?
Right. The main character is Senua, and she has the head of a loved one strapped to her belt, and she is...
Oh, like Lollipop Chainsaw.
Actually, very similar to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's on a quest to sort of restore this person's soul to them. So she's going into the depths of hell, essentially. But she also is afflicted with psychosis, so she's struggling with that throughout the course of the games, to the point that it casts doubt from your perspective as a player as to whether or not what you're doing and seeing is even real at all. This game doesn't just use traditional gimmicks to convey Senua's psychosis.
Yeah, because when your initial description kind of makes me think of something like Eternal Darkness, where the game kind of messes with you a little bit, but that's not really the case here.
Right, and that was great in Eternal Darkness, and that's very memorable there. But this game takes itself more seriously in that respect, and isn't about gameplay tricks to make you go like, "Oh wow, wasn't that cool or neat?" This game isn't about using those sort of tricks for the sake of novelty. Pretty much everything it does is in service to conveying Senua's struggle with her mental illness.
Mm-hmm. It's trying to represent a genuine psychosis, right?
Right. One way it does this is early in the game, you are told that Senua has this rot that's going up her arm, and you're told that once that reaches her head, your game's progress is erased and you have to start over. Now, I know that sounds stressful and strange from a gameplay perspective, but what that does is in your mind, as you're playing this game, it makes that sort of that struggle more intense, because it doesn't make for a super fun game. The sense that when you're dying, you're one step closer to losing your progress doesn't make it necessarily entertaining, but it really effectively conveys Senua's sense that everything is on the line.
It makes it easier to sympathize with her as a character.
Right, and I can't even say that it's necessarily a good thing. That colored my experience with this as a game in some negative ways. It's frustrating when you don't know what you're doing in a situation and you feel like you sort of die unfairly, or if there's a really hard combat encounter coming up, if it takes a few tries on it, every try feels like you're just one step closer to this catastrophe. So speaking of combat, even though there are pockets of combat in this game, it is a much more narrative focused experience than you might expect, especially given Ninja Theory's sort of history with stylish action.
So it's not really like a Devil May Cry spiritual successor.
Absolutely not. No, I mean, the bulk of your experience with the game is perceiving the world through Senua's eyes and moving through it. There's some puzzle solving elements and there is combat, but the bulk of the experience of this game is delivered through you observing your surroundings, listening to the voices in Senua's head, and in sort of interpreting the world around you that way.
And sometimes you hit people with a sword.
Exactly. And even though it is narrative focused, that doesn't mean that the combat is just a sort of throwaway time-wasting system. Unlike other narrative focused experiences that really just want to deliver the story and they don't really expect much in terms of skill from the player, the combat that is in this game can be challenging, especially when colored by the fact that you're worried about every time you die. The controls are fairly simple and accessible. It's a standard heavy attack, light attack, dodge, block kinds of things.
Yeah, but you're not getting into crazy combos, but there is strategy to the combat.
Right, and a lot of the strategy has to deal with multiple enemies at once approaching you, getting attacked from off screen by enemies, and having to sort of deal with that and position yourself and things like that. So the combat requires skill, and I think it would be fair to say that there are some players who may be interested in the story that don't enjoy the combat or see it as more of something that's getting in the way of delivering the story that they're interested in.
So Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is out on PlayStation 4 and PC. And Joe, you reviewed the game. What was the score that you gave the game?
I ended up giving it an 8.
Okay, and the review, you can read the review on GameInformer.com, and Hellblade was also on our cover, so we also have tons of features all about developing the game. That's really awesome. You should check it out.